There's a couple more things with the ionics. When you go backwards, if they give you the formula and you have to go backwards, make sure that you're just putting the names together. Always make sure that your cation is first and that your anion is second. So your positive guy is always in the front, your anion is always in the back, and then when they give you the formula, it should be written that way. So we'll just do a couple, like 2 examples if you want to write it in. But if we do this guy right here, so they give you that and they say, hey, what's his name? You would look up Ca on the front, and again, you're just finding that actual thing. Remember, it'll have a charge on the front because it's an ion. But when you find him, he's calcium. When you look up Cl on the back, it will just be Cl. There won't be a 2 there because the only reason the 2 is there is because of the balancing of charges. So you're going to look up Cl on the back, and he is chloride. You're just making sure you're giving it the appropriate name. The only other thing you kind of have to be careful with the ionics is when you have Roman numerals. And we use Roman numerals because sometimes they have more than one charge, or they can't have more than one charge. So some cations, particularly transition metals, can have more than one charge. And the Roman numeral is your ion's charge. So for example, I'll just give you a real common one here. We have iron 2, which is Fe plus 2, and we have iron 3, which is obviously Fe plus 3. So when they're giving you the Roman numeral, they're actually giving you a hint. They're telling you which one it is. If you look up, if you're doing the name like up here and you look it up and it has a Roman numeral, that's an indication that you're going to have to figure it out. So just be aware of that because it does have an impact on how you name it. And we'll practice a couple just to make sure that you're okay with it for this last part of this section. Alright, so we're going to do 3 where we write the formulas. We'll do 2 where we write the names. And then you're good to go. Alright, so this first one, you look up sodium. It's Na plus 1. Cl is minus 1. And again, Na, the sodium is on the front, the chlorine is on the back, and you just make sure you find them. Your lowest common multiple is 1. And again, you don't have to write that. You can do that in your head. But I just did it so you could see it, which means that when you write your formula, your correct formula for sodium chloride is NaCl, and you're already all balanced and good to go. For iron 2 sulfide, so we obviously have a Roman numeral now. Again, that's your hint. When you look him up on your blue sheet, you need to make sure that you're looking up actual iron 2. So we have Fe, and you find him, and he is plus 2. Sulfide is on the back. You look him up, and he is S minus 2. Lowest common multiple is 2. And when we balance this guy out, you should just have Fe and S. Next one, we're just doing our naming. Don't worry about this one thing. You can even cross it out. Don't worry about that. We're just not at acids yet, but don't worry, you can cross that off. So what we want to do is find his name. And again, you're going to find the H on the front. And you should find hydrogen. And again, you find your F on the back. And it should be fluoride. There's no Roman numerals on either of them, so we don't write Roman numerals. You don't want to write them if they're not necessary. And that's its whole name. This guy right in here, remember when you look up Ca, there will not be a 3 with it because the only reason the 3 is there is because of the balancing of the charges. So when you look this guy up, you're just looking up the Ca right here. And when we look that up, you should find calcium. And when we look up the N on the back, you should find good old nitride. And last but not least, the one that you got to be careful with. So you're a diligent student, you're doing great, you're finding everything. You look up Cu, and the issue is there's copper 1 or copper 2. So this is when you have to figure it out. So when you're faced with a situation, you have to figure out which copper. And to do this, you have to do a little bit of math here. So what you have to do is look up chlorine. Chlorine is -1, and there's 2 of him, which means our lowest common multiple is -2. Well, it's 2. So what you have to say is, okay, I have 1 copper. My lowest common multiple is 2. So I have to say, okay, which charge does he have to make this neutral? So remember, I have to have exactly as many positives as negatives. Right now I have -2. That means for this to be right, and we're assuming it's right, it has to be copper 2. And the reason it has to be copper 2 is because we need to have 2 positives if we have 2 negatives. So what that means for us is when we write our formula, it's going to be copper 2 chloride. If we don't have a Roman numeral, it's wrong. If we have the wrong Roman numeral, it's wrong. So you have to figure out the Roman numerals when you look them up on the chart. And if you look it up on the chart and it has a Roman numeral, that means there's options. One thing you may want to write down is not all the Roman numerals options are on the ion sheet. And what that means is, like, for example, there's a gold 5, and there's like gold 3, there's gold 1. So just because we have the ion sheet doesn't mean that we can't have other charges. If you calculate it and it's supposed to have a Roman numeral and it's supposed to have that charge, then that's what you need to do. You need to just say that's okay and take it, and just make sure that you're following the rules. So what you're going to do is practice this. Make sure you can do this. What you want to focus on is, can you find all of them? Can you balance your charges? And can you do the Roman numerals? Because again, we're going to do lots of different types this chapter. This is the easiest one. So if you don't get this, you're already kind of getting behind.